Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John J. Gaiman on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Big Earl Football Podcast, the first one here in season number 3, using that college football revamp, of course, version number 10 as of the recording of this video. Got a good one for you guys. I just heard from our scouts. We're going to take a look at a couple of notable players that we're looking at and some of their high school highlights, as well as take a look at the rest of our recruiting board as well, a recap of the first 2 games that we played, and on top of that, check out the Indiana Hoosiers, who we will be playing in our next game. It will be our final non-conference game before we go into MAC conference play to try and right the ship. But hey, with that being said, do me a favor, you guys. I need you guys to smash that like button for me, and also leave a comment for your boy as well. I love interacting with all of you guys. I try to respond to everybody. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and take a look at our little recruiting update, starting with the high school highlights of a couple of players that we're going after.
So one of the notable players that I actually wanted to go ahead and talk about is Brandon Morris. He's a 3-star guy, 6'4", 242, I should say, and he's a guy that could be a starting player for us right away. He's a 65 overall, and you guys see the tight ends on our roster. They're not very talented, so this is a kid that can definitely step up and play day one for us right away. He's a guy that he's a bounce guy. He can play some blocks if we want to, but he's got some great highlights with his hands as well, and that's something that I really like to see. Is very aware of what's going on as well, so definitely a kid that can come in, play for us on the very first day, very first game of the season. And also just look at the toughness that this kid has. Almost in most of these highlights, he's breaking a tackle on his way to get something done, as there's either that or trucking through a defender in the first place. So another person that I wanted to talk about is Sean Cox, and I apologize I didn't really get his graphic going, but he is a 69 overall guy. He is a 3-star prospect, and he's a guy that can step up and also play day one potentially, or join our defensive lineman rotation. He's known as a balanced defensive lineman who can go ahead and get some plays done for us as well, and can rush the quarterback as well moving forward for the squad.
So I wanted to go ahead now and take a look at some guys that, maybe aren't getting as much attention, but, still are worth talking about as they are on our recruiting board. And we honestly don't have as many people as we did in the past couple of seasons, simply because there wasn't that many people in our pipeline states that are legitimately interested in what we were trying to go ahead and do. So, first guy that I definitely wanted to go ahead and talk about is my guy, Allen Davis. He is a 3-star running back from Indianapolis, Indiana, and he would have been perfect for, like season 1, season 2, but he can still come in and potentially be a good backup piece for us. Type of guy that, not the fastest person on the face of the earth, only 81 speed. That's not great for a running back, but he does have some good moves. He has a good juke move that he can go to, and has decent elusiveness as well going forward. And he's, has a high injury rating as well. I do like seeing that. And has decent catching skills coming out of the backfield as well. Right now, we're currently leading him. We haven't offered a scholarship yet, but Franklin College did. So that's something to definitely watch out for sure. We'll give him a scholarship when, we have some recruiting points opening up. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see what Allen Davis could do for us down the road. A guy that will probably be redshirted, but can still help out our team. Continuing to build this offensive line, it's basically, getting the hog mollies, going, building that depth at arguably one of the most important positions in football besides the quarterback position. One of those offensive linemen is Xavier Robertson. He's from Seymour, Indiana, a 6'4", 311-pound guy, and is a 95th ranked tackle in this recruiting class. He's not a fast guy, 59 speed. He can accelerate well and only has decent strength, but I do like the pass blocking and run blocking abilities that we have as well. And unlike in past seasons, we do have a chance to redshirt him if we feel the need to do so. There's a couple other schools that offer him a scholarship, Rose-Hulman and Notre Dame. being two of those schools, but we are currently in the lead for them, and we're pulling away quickly for Xavier Robertson, so I wouldn't be shocked if we end up with our squad going forward. Mike Rogers, he's a little bit different from Allen Davis. He's only 5'9", 198 pounds. South Bend, Indiana guy, so right in the heart of, Notre Dame's territory. And, he's a little bit faster, 84 speed. What I do like about this kid, he also has abundant moves that he can go to. Stiff arm, a spin move, and a juke move that he can go to. His carrying's a little low, only a 59, which is a little worrisome, so somebody that would definitely have to redshirt. Another offensive lineman that we're looking at is Jeremy Norton, who's from Carroll City, Florida. He's the 40th ranked guard in this recruiting class, but unfortunately for us, he was considered a bust, and usually I would remove this guy off my board, to be honest with you, because I don't like bringing in busts, but because of the lack of folks that we have, and we still need to work on building depth on our roster, he can at least be a depth piece. Probably will not live up to expectations like we want him to, but he still has decent blocking abilities. He does need to work on his impact block, only 69, and then also, work on his stamina. 64 stamina means he won't be able to stay on the field for long, but despite that, he does have a couple scholarships from Boise State and Arizona as well. Keeping it on, into the trenches, we have Robert Callahan that we're also looking at from Golden Glades, Florida. 79th ranked defensive tackle. He's 6'5", 275 pounds, and is considered a run-stopping kind of guy. And no wonder. He only has 49 speed, which is absolutely atrocious. But he does have a couple of moves that he can go to. Power moves, finesse moves, and block shedding, which is nice to see considering you saw that Notre Dame game. We really struggle with, our run defense, and at times we couldn't stop ULM from running the football as well. And what I've really noticed is that in the 4-2-5, we don't really have any really good defensive tackles, and Robert Callahan can step in and, at least try to fill that role. Have a true defensive tackle that's not a preferred lock-on or anything like that, and at least have a little bit of an upgrade at that position. Speaking of defensive tackle, we're also looking at Jamie Jenkins from Pleasanton, Texas. He's also 6'5" and 273 pounds. The 45th ranked defensive tackle who is also a run stopper as well. I don't like him as much as Robert Callahan. He only has 45 speed, so an incredibly slow guy, but with his size, 273 pounds, he can at least go in there and, plug up, a hole in our defensive line, make it a little bit tougher to go in and, run on us in the interior. He only has 63 tackle though, which is a little concerning for sure, but there's two teams that are offering a scholarship for him right now, us and Oklahoma State, which kind of makes sense because he is a Texas product. Switching back over to the offensive side of football for the time being, we have DeJuan Armstrong, who's also a freestar product from Sulphur Springs, Texas. He's the 72th ranked tackle in this recruiting class, 6'3", 300 pounds. And he's a good pass blocker, man. 75 pass block and 75 impact blocking. He's not the best at, doing the, the run blocking, only 68. But it's something that we can work on with him as he has great acceleration. 91 acceleration, that is really good for an offensive tackle. And that'll be good if we get up to the second level and he can come in and, do some work for us. Jason Howard is another defensive tackle that we're looking at as well from Glendora, California. He's the 62nd ranked defensive tackle, a balanced guy, 63 overall, a little bit faster than the other defensive tackles, but he's a little bit more raw in terms of his core abilities. His power moves, finesse, and block shedding aren't as good as the other defensive tackles that we went over on this list. And just across the board, just needs to work on some things, but he has a little bit more athleticism on the defensive line than the other defensive tackles that we're looking at. So a guy that can potentially start for us here, or, be someone that can contribute in season number 4. And we're not the only team that thinks that. USC and Nevada have also offered athletic scholarships. But that being said, though, it's the case where he might be a best fit for us because of the playing time that we can offer. Two more guys that I want to look at is Brent Willy, who's a 59 speed guy. good run blocking. He's only a 2-star guy from Brownwood, Texas. It seems like a depth piece, and we're actually losing on him right now. Hawaii is in the lead, and we haven't offered him a scholarship yet, but they have, and so has Kansas State. So that'll be interesting if we actually get him. If we don't, it's not the end of the world, but somebody I want to talk to you guys about real quick. And then John Bird from Rialto, California. He's the 38th ranked tackle in this recruiting class, but I don't think he's going to live up to expectations, though. He does have 94 acceleration, which of course is really good to see. But he's not as good as a pass blocker as what I hoped he was. Was hoping for a little bit better, to be honest with you, and we're still going to go after him pretty hard because don't have a lot of options in terms of players that are interested in us this time around. Boise State, Oregon State, and Colorado have also offered scholarships for this kid, but you know, there's a lot of like 3-star guys, 2-star guys that are in this recruiting class that we could potentially get. That maybe there isn't too many impact guys, but there is guys that we can develop and, you know, be contributors next season potentially if we develop them the right way. As for how things are currently going on the football field, though, to be honest with you guys, first couple of games have been really rough for our guys to start off. Our first game of the season, of course, was against Notre Dame, and I didn't expect us to win this game, to be honest, because we still have quite a bit to go in our rebuilding process. But that being said, I was hoping to keep it at least a respectable game, right? It shows what we are as a program, and we're not remotely close to competing for a national championship, but it's a good learning experience for us going forward. You know, take those licks early so that when we get into conference play, we'll be ready to go and, you know, try to run the table in the conference. We ended up losing this game 50-7, and that last score that we had was a garbage time touchdown over to Blue when we started to get our backups in, you know, for the sake of keeping our guys healthy and all that good stuff. It was a tough one across the board, man. We had a really tough time moving the football. It's going to be really important to get our ground game going, just because we do have a 2-quarterback system going as of right now. And especially look at the third downs. We were 5 for 17 on third downs as well. And, you know, it just really was one of those things that it was set up to where, you know, guys weren't ready to play, it seemed like. And that's just deeply unfortunate. Another thing that disappointed me as well is, particularly in the first couple of games, CJ Patton has not really lived up to the billing, to be honest. I mean, he's known as a passer, not a very athletic quarterback, but ironically, Miami Uiagalelei has done a better job passing than what CJ Patton has done moving forward. And of course, you know, Miami, he's the more athletic of the 2 quarterbacks going in, but there is a couple of bright spots that we, you know, do have. Blue has been really good, and I want to talk about that later in this podcast. And we actually did a good job for our offensive line as well, but we just couldn't execute, and that really is what killed us at the end of the day. Matthew Sands was another bright spot as well. He had 3 sacks in this game as well. And then in the second game as well, we should have won this game outright. I mean, we, you know, got off on a really bad run to begin. We were down 17-0 midway through the first quarter. And it just seemed like one of those games where, you know, the game was really determined to get us to lose, and we ended up losing this game, of course. CJ Patton, again, you know, in overtime, if you guys remember, he had a, you know, pass where we were trying to throw a slant. The slant pattern was open, and, you know, CJ Patton just couldn't get it there, was way off, and, you know, it cost us big time, man. ULM was able to get a field goal in overtime in order to win the football game. It's really unfortunate, but we just have to keep going. Our offense played a lot better in this game, particularly after the first quarter, though. That does give us some confidence moving forward, but, I mean, we're still showing as 0-2, and you think our coach was on the hot seat before this season started? We are definitely on the hot seat now, which, again, is something that I also want to talk about. And look at this. This is what happens when our run game does get going. Miami had a touchdown. CJ Holman had a touchdown. Jesse Green had a touchdown as well. If we can have something like this, you know, in the majority of the games, we can indeed win the majority of our games. And then if we can get good passing production as well, that would be an absolute bonus for us moving forward. So this is a game that we should have won, but I mean, it is what it is. We'll just go ahead now, check out what Indiana is going to be working with and how we're going to go about attacking this team so that we can pull an upset on this Big Ten squad. So here we are now taking a look at the Indiana football roster going into this game, and I'm looking at how this team is set up, and surprisingly there isn't any, NFL prospects that are on this squad, it seems like. Their best player is Lee Maynard, who's an 89 overall. He's a junior redshirt from McCook, Nebraska, and he's a pocket passer, so a guy that we're certainly going to have to go ahead and, try to keep an eye on moving forward as we're checking out how Lee Maynard is doing so far. He has 2 touchdowns in his first game, 25 for 38, 276 yards. Not a fast guy, 61 speed, 60 agility, but he can dot us up if he has time though. 96 throw accuracy, 90 throw power. If he has time to throw the football, he's going to be able to dot us up and tear us apart, because he has an extremely good arm, probably one of the best arms that we've gone up against in this series. So it'll be really interesting. We have gotten good pass rush in these first couple of games, and we're going to need it here again, in order to, have a chance to pull off the upset at home. At running back, they have Nick Bass, who's a senior redshirt from Ashtabula, Ohio. A decent speed guy, and actually didn't get very many carries in his first game. Only 3 carries for 16 yards. Was able to find the end zone. I don't know exactly what happened to him. Not maybe if he got hurt, or maybe they have more of a pass-happy attack. That is something that Indiana usually does. But they do have 89 speed, 83 acceleration. His spin move is legendary. 99 spin, 94 juke. That could be an absolute problem for us going forward. And then on top of that, 90 elusiveness. He can get away from slippery defenders quickly as well, and we have to keep an eye out for that moving forward. At fullback, they actually have 2 solid fullbacks in Rob Winston and Brandon Haynes, but I'm actually not sure how much they use him, although it looks like Rob Winston gets the majority of the carries for this team, which is really surprising. We'll see if they keep that up for, game number 2 for the Hoosiers. As we take a look at the wide receiver core, they have a few guys. Joe Lane, who's an 83 overall from Cambridge, Ohio. He's a true junior. Bobby Bird is their second receiver from Loveland, Ohio. He's only 5'10" and 184 pounds, but he's an 82 overall. And then at, the free receiver is Brian Phillips, 5'10", 201 pounds, a possession guy from Vincennes, Ohio, Indiana, I should say. After that, they have some guys that could contribute, but, something that like our corners can keep an eye on. Not the best receiving core in the world, and something that we can definitely deal with. Over a tight end, Jeremy Haynes will get the start. He's an 83 speed guy, the junior redshirt from Helena, Alabama. And then taking a look at their offensive line, it's not a very good O-line. Tyler Watkins is actually hurt and will not be available in this game, I believe. He's 6'5", 308, but it's just not a very good offensive lineman, frankly. Joseph Davis, is a pretty solid player. Tony Garcia. Look out this offensive line. This is an offensive line that, we can definitely get pressure on. D-line, though, will definitely need to step up in this one in order to get the job done. Over on the defensive side of the ball, they have Todd Cummings as the starter. He's a true senior from Austintown, Ohio, with Nate Hodges backing him up, who's also a senior. And then at right end, they're deep at this defensive end position. Mario Harris and Mark Murphy, starter and backup. When your backup is an 82 overall, that's pretty solid, and you love to see that. Same thing with defensive tackles. This is a good defensive line. And so our offensive line is going to have its hands full for sure, trying to, get some movement in the trenches so that our run game can be successful. Moving into the linebacker court, Steve Hubbard, who is actually related to Sam Hubbard, who plays for the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe. He's a junior redshirt from Tallulah, Louisiana. He's a 79 overall. And middle linebacker is a true freshman, William McCarty. He is from Rome, Georgia. And he's he's got some skills for sure. He has 84 speed, definitely a raw speed guy, great pursuit. So we'll see how that turns out. And then a right outside linebacker, a true sophomore, Lamont Clark. In the secondary, they have a couple of solid guys, Amir Hartman and Lance Edwards, who are both juniors. Hartman being a 6'1", 181-pound guy, and Lance Edwards is 6'2", 175. At free safety, though, things get a little interesting. Their starter listed as Joe Powell, who's only a 67 overall. And then their strong safety, they have two guys there, Brandon Horn and James Tucker. Brandon Horn and James Tucker, they're not that great either. And frankly, they're not very quick. Both of the starting safeties have less than 80 speed. So, if our guys can get past the, the corners, then they can potentially win one-on-one deep as well, given that we do have some taller receivers. Terrell Jackson is a kicker, and he's a solid kicker. 90 accuracy, 85 kick power. So if he's in field goal range, he's most likely going to hit. His punter, though, is Joe Phillips, who's only 71 overall. Can't kick very far or very accurately. So we'll not be expecting some, big punts anytime soon. So now we get to the season stats for us here after the first couple of games. And it's been really interesting to see. Miami has definitely taken a step forward in terms of, what he has to do as a passer. His first couple of games have been really solid. 432 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. If he can keep that up over the course of the entire season, his interceptions will go down, and then he'll also break the school record for passing touchdowns. If he can keep that kind of pace up, it seems reasonable. We'll see if he can do it or not. He has a 63% completion percentage, which is something that I really like to see, and he doesn't have as many passing attempts, which is what I really like to see as well. Plus, that being said, he's averaging more yards per rush, which is really, really nice to see going forward. Already has a touchdown to go with it, and he's improved in overall. So now he's a 68 overall. On the other hand, though, CJ Patton has definitely not had a great start to his collegiate career. We brought him in trying to do a 2-quarterback system because if you look at his player skills, he is a better passer. 83 throw power and 76 accuracy versus only 74 throw power and 69 accuracy. So CJ Patton does have a better arm talent, legitimately, but we know he couldn't run, which is why we did a 2-quarterback system and only put him in sets where there isn't any read options or anything like that in the formation. But so far, not so good though. 10 for 28 and 2 interceptions. It's only 35% completion percentage. What I'm thinking about what's going on with this quarterback position is I want to give CJ Patton one more game with the 2-quarterback system that we do have going on. And then if things don't get better in the Indiana game, I'm just going to allow Miami Uiagalelei just to take all of the snaps at quarterback because he's played well, he's improved as a passer, and that should be noted. And if he can keep that start up, he should be rewarded for that, and rightfully so. As for a rushing game, not only has Miami stepped up as a passer, but like I said, he is leading the team in rushing yards. CJ Holman is currently second place right now. He only has 81 yards on the ground, so a slow start for CJ, but hopefully we can improve on that going forward. Jesse Green, the backup for CJ Holman, is faring a little bit better in his opportunities. 7 carries, 29 yards on the ground, and also has indeed got into the end zone as well. So 3 rushing touchdowns. This is definitely nice to see. Receivers, Derek Blue has been a very bright spot for us so far. True freshman, 10 catches, 175 yards, and has 3 touchdowns so far. I love the effort this kid puts in, and I love to see him, continue to improve going forward. Same thing with Adam Hill III. He already has a couple of touchdown grabs that matches what he had last season as a true freshman, so he can definitely break that as well. And that's despite the fact that, his role hasn't really changed that much. He's, maybe, wide receiver number 3, because Derek Blue's just been so good. He's moved up to wide receiver 2. CJ Holman does lead the team in catches though, 10 catches, and that's the case for Derek Blue. Jakeem Short though has been pretty quiet. He's been a little short, as they say. Only 7 catches for 46 yards so far. He hasn't really gotten the same love that he did back in season number 2. So, and I would love to legitimately get him more involved in the offense. You saw what he can do in season 2. He can make some plays. He can definitely make some plays for sure. Would love to get him more involved in the offense going forward. As for blocking, Sam Price III, who is actually a custom recruit for us, he does get a pancake, and then he also has a couple of sacks given up, which is not great. Ray Stevenson, though, has a pancake and hasn't a lot of sack, and that could be also be said for Cornell Smith and Lionel Williams, guys that are trying to make an impact early on in their collegiate careers. Andrew Richardson also with a pancake but giving up a sack, and then Jay Downing doesn't have any pancakes but has given up a sack. On the defensive side of the ball, our currently tackle leader is Justin Burton, but there's a couple other guys that do have double-digit tackles already at this point in the season. Josh Brown is one of those guys who has indeed forced a fumble for us, and then Matt Sand, where almost half of his tackles are sacks. MJ Granson is almost there. He has 9 tackles so far, which is pretty good for a true freshman. He has been beat a couple of times downfield, but he is a young player, so he is going to eventually learn, to play that cornerback position effectively at the collegiate level. Matthew Sanzo has led the team in TFLs. He has 8 TFLs already, which is insane to me. That's followed by Justin Burton, who has 4. Finn Otis, who was named a freshman All-American on the preseason squad. He has multiple TFLs. Ian Levine has multiple TFLs. And then Caden Doman actually has multiple TFLs as well. He's able to find the field again as a junior. The only walk-on that could say that he played, a legitimate role for 3 seasons, I would say. And we also done a better job of getting to the quarterback, I think, as well. Matthew Sands has led the way, but we also gotten some production from Justin Burton, who has multiple sacks at this point of the season. So is Finn Otis, who's been able to get to the quarterback. We haven't gotten any turnovers yet. We did have 1 forced fumble, but we didn't recover it. And that's something that I want to work on. We need to be able to create turnovers and give our offense additional chances to be successful, because we obviously don't have the best offense. So if we can win the turnover battle, that'll be really beneficial for our squad going forward. So next episode, what we are going to go end up and do is we are going to host the Indiana Hoosiers, who are 1-1. It's our final non-conference game of the season before we go into conference play, and this is also our first home game that we'll have here in Season 3, so it should be a good one. Make sure you smash that like button for me, and if you're brand new to the channel and made it all the way to the end of this video, I encourage you to smash that subscribe button as well to help grow this community that we got going on here. In the meantime, though, this is John J. Gaming on the mic, signing off, but hoping you're all out there having a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.